What if your entire world was judged by one moment, one decision? An alien ambassador hovers silently above Earth, ready to decide if humanity deserves to survive or be erased. No war, no warning, just silence. But when she meets one unexpected human, everything changes. Not because of power, but because of something far more dangerous. Hope. This isn't just first contact. It's the moment that could rewrite the fate of our species. If you are new here, then please subscribe this channel and show thumbs up by liking the video. Now let's move to this wonderful story. It hovered in silence above the curve of Earth, wrapped in shadow, invisible to the machines below. Its surface was smooth and dark, reflecting neither light nor attention. To the human eye, it would look like nothing more than a drifting shape in the night sky if it could be seen at all. Inside, everything was still, every movement careful, every light dim. No sound echoed through the halls except for the soft hum of power running through ancient circuits. Ambassador Selene stood near the observation panel, her eyes fixed on the planet beneath. Wrapped in a flowing gray-blue robe marked with the soft glow of her rank, she appeared calm, almost cold. But inside, her mind was restless. She had traveled across the stars before, visited dozens of young planets, judged species that had only just learned to reach beyond their moons. Earth was supposed to be another name on that list, small, divided, late to the galactic stage, but something had changed, and that change had brought her here. 3 months ago, a patrol drone had vanished near Saturn's rings. No distress signal, no trace. Just gone. Days later, strange signals started drifting in from Earth's orbit. Patterns no Dominion device could recognize, codes that didn't match any known system. Earth was supposed to be decades away from building anything beyond basic satellites. Now there were whispers, dangerous whispers, that humans had built something faster than light. It was too fast, too soon. The Halo Council, which Selene served, with unwavering loyalty, didn't like surprises. Surprises meant instability. And instability, in their long experience, meant war. Selene had seen what came next in these situations. 5 planets in her lifetime had been erased before they could rise beyond control. Not with missiles or invasions, with silence. Communication cut. Orbits turned dark. Life removed like dust from a table. Quiet, clean, absolute. The Halo Council always moved early, before new civilizations could tip the balance of order they had maintained for 10,000 years. This visit wasn't diplomacy. It was evaluation. Selene's orders were simple. Observe, measure, and report. If humans posed a threat, if their growth outpaced their wisdom, then the decision would be made swiftly. But something about this mission felt different. It wasn't fear. It wasn't doubt. It was something she couldn't name. And that unsettled her more than she wanted to admit. A quiet sound pulled her from thought. The doors behind her opened with a hiss and soft footsteps approached. She turned, ready to see a guard or officer. Instead, it was a human. Alone. He stopped a few steps away and nodded politely. He wore no armor, no tech, just a dark coat and boots dusted with earth soil. His hair was short and uneven, and a long scar ran down the side of his face. His eyes, though, those were strange. Not wild or desperate like some new species she'd met. Just quiet, focused, watching. "Captain Malin Rowe," he said. She tilted her head, noting his perfect pronunciation. "Ambassador Selene of the Halo Council." "Welcome to Earth," he said with a small smile. "Or close enough." She didn't return the smile. "You speak our language well. Most species struggle." He shrugged. "I've had time to practice. Learning languages is easier when it's the only way to survive." She studied him. No tremble in his voice. No signs of nervousness. He wasn't armed. He wasn't even curious, just calm. "You knew who I was," she said. "Of course," Malin replied. "You don't send someone like you unless you're trying to decide what to do with us." His honesty was unusual. Most beings tried to impress her, or hide something, or lie. Not him. You know what the Halo Council does when a species rises? Too quickly. I do, he said. I've seen it. His tone was even, no anger, no blame, just memory. She stepped closer. And still you meet me. Alone. Why? He turned to the window beside her, where Earth's blue oceans shimmered far below. Because if we're going to be wiped away, he said, I'd rather someone understand us first. That made her pause. It wasn't what she expected. Most species begged for mercy, or threatened, or denied. None had said that. She looked at him again, deeper this time. There was something raw about him. Not broken, just real. He didn't carry pride like armor. He didn't speak like a trained diplomat. He didn't try to charm or argue, he just stood there. Your kind is violent, she said. You fight among yourselves. You poison your world. You take without giving. All true, he said. No hesitation. You don't defend yourselves. Not yet. They stood in silence. The weight of those words hung between them. Her people didn't fear silence. They used it as a tool. But here, in this moment, it felt like something else, like the beginning of a conversation no one had ever dared to have. He looked at her again, his voice softer now. Tell me, Ambassador, how many species have you erased before you even knew who they were? She didn't answer. He took a breath. We're not perfect, far from it, but we're trying. And maybe we're going too fast, but we're not just machines and fire. We're more than what you see. She didn't look away. But she felt something shift inside her. A quiet flicker of, but not trust, not yet, but curiosity. And curiosity, she knew, was always the first crack in judgment. The door closed behind them with a soft click. Ambassador Selen followed Captain Mullen Rowe through a narrow hallway lit with low amber lights. The walls were made of simple materials, nothing advanced, nothing impressive. Yet every detail was clean, carefully maintained. The silence between them stretched, but it wasn't heavy. It was thoughtful, like both of them were measuring each other in the quiet. Selen had walked through cities of glass and silver, heard music from stars, and stood beneath suns larger than Earth's moon. But here, beneath this human-built roof of stone and steel, something felt different, familiar almost. They entered a round room with a single table in the center and 2 chairs, both equal in size. No guards stood nearby, no cameras buzzed above. Selen's eyes scanned the room anyway. Her implants detected no weapons, no hidden tech, no traps. That didn't mean there weren't any, just that none could be found. Mullen sat first, casually, his hands resting in front of him. He placed 2 cups of steaming liquid on the table. Selen watched the small wisps rise from the surface. No scent, no color. She ran a scan, no toxins, no nanites. Still, she didn't touch it. He didn't seem offended. He simply lifted his cup and took a slow sip. We didn't expect you to come in person, Mullen said. Most thought you'd send a drone, or a warning. Selen kept her expression flat. I considered it, she said, but drones lack context. Mullen gave a small nod like he understood exactly what she meant. Context is everything, he replied. That's why I volunteered. She tilted her head slightly. You chose to meet me? Alone? Yes. Selen narrowed her gaze. Why? Mullen didn't speak right away. Instead, he leaned forward, slightly, not aggressively, just with purpose. His eyes met hers again, not with fear, but with something sharper. Curiosity, perhaps. Or something more dangerous. Because humans learn fast, he said. But we listen better when someone looks us in the eye. The words struck her. The Halo Council taught that eye contact was a threat display, a challenge. Among her kind, direct gaze was reserved for trials or punishment. But Mullen met her eyes with calm, not power. It was strange, disarming. She studied him more closely. His coat was simple but tailored. His posture was relaxed, but not lazy. Every movement felt deliberate, practiced. Not a soldier's strictness, something different. A survivor's discipline. He had faced fear before. He had walked through fire and kept going. "You are not what I expected," Selin said softly. Malin gave a faint smile, but it didn't reach his eyes. No one ever expects the truth, just the threat. She let silence fill the space again. Dominion diplomats were trained to wait, to use silence as a tool. Most would fill the gap, reveal their thoughts, stumble over nervousness. Malin didn't. He simply waited, calm, watching. She respected that even if she didn't say it aloud. Finally, she spoke. "Your people have advanced far faster than projected, faster than is safe." He tilted his head slightly. "Should we apologize?" "No," she said. "You should be careful." He leaned back. "We've never been good at that." Selene's fingers tapped lightly on the table. A quiet rhythm. She was thinking. "We've detected traces of faster-than-light development," she said. "That technology is not meant for your stage." Malin didn't flinch. "We solve problems without knowing the rules," he said. "That makes us unpredictable. But sometimes it also makes us right." "Unpredictable leads to fear," Selene said. "Fear leads to action. Are you here to act?" he asked. "Or to understand?" She didn't answer right away. "I came to see if humanity is a threat," she said, "or a mistake." Something in Malin's face changed. Not his expression, but something behind it. A quiet shift. Not fear. Not anger. Something closer to disappointment. "And what do you see now?" he asked, barely above a whisper. Selin looked at him, her gaze sharper now. The Halo Council had trained her to read faces, to detect lies in tone, in breath, in hesitation. But there were no lies here, no fear, no performance, just presence, as if he had already accepted whatever fate waited. "You're not afraid," she said. "I am," he replied, "but not of you." His words echoed in the room. Selin didn't move, but her thoughts raced. She had met thousands of voices in her time, beggars, warriors, leaders. But Malin Rose spoke like none of them. Not because he was better, but because he was grounded, solid, as if he carried something larger than himself. She looked at him once more, and for the first time, not as a subject or a possible threat. She saw a question, not a conclusion. Perhaps Earth had changed too fast. Perhaps the humans had gone too far. But maybe, just maybe, they had done so not because of hunger for power, but because they dared to hope. And hope, Selene knew, was often louder than logic. The room was dim, quiet, and warm. Soft lights glowed from the corners, casting long shadows across the metal floor. Ambassador Selene stood still, her hands behind her back, watching Captain Malin Rowe as he moved to the far side of the chamber. In the center sat a small pedestal, with a cracked surface, old technology patched and worn. Malin tapped a few keys gently, and the pedestal lit up with a low hum. "We call this memory glass," he said. "It doesn't show charts or numbers, it shows us." Selene raised an eyebrow. "Explain." Malin didn't answer with words. Instead, he stepped back as a light shimmered above the device. A projection filled the space between them, soft and flickering. It started slowly, a warm field of green grass waving under the wind. A small human child, no more than 5 years old, ran barefoot across it, laughing so loud the sound echoed in the chamber. A large, floppy-eared dog chased close behind, barking joyfully. In the distance, a woman waved at the child, her face lit with pride and love. The sun dipped low in the sky, casting golden light across the scene. Selene didn't speak, but her eyes stayed on the image. Her people didn't have fields like this. Childhood in the Dominion was efficient, short, and structured. There was no time for play, no space for wonder. What was this scene meant to show her? Weakness? The image faded and shifted. Now an old man sat on a street corner, hunched over a wooden instrument. His hands trembled, his face was weathered, but the music he played was soft and beautiful. People walked past him, most in a hurry, some stopping to listen. A few smiled. One child dropped a coin into a small cloth by his feet and nodded in thanks, though the man had never asked. The scene moved on before Céline could question it. Ma Lin still said nothing. Another memory took its place. This time, smoke and fire. A building was burning. Chaos. Screams. A firefighter in heavy gear moved through the smoke, not away from danger, but deeper into it. Moments later, he re-emerged carrying a small dog wrapped in his coat. People outside clapped. Someone cried. Not because of loss, but because the animal had lived. Céline watched. She could feel something pressing at the edge of her thoughts, something unfamiliar. These were not scenes of victory or power. They were quiet moments, fragile ones. They weren't trying to prove strength. They were trying to show something else. Another image appeared, a protest in the rain. Hundreds of people stood, soaked and cold, holding signs above their heads. Their faces were hard but hopeful. No violence. Just standing together, unmoving, united for something Céline didn't understand yet. Then more scenes. A young girl fixing a broken machine with scavenged parts and a quiet grin. A man giving his last piece of bread to someone with no shoes. A teacher in a ruined classroom still writing lessons on a wall with chalk. Finally, the lie. Projection dimmed, silence returned. Ma Lin stepped forward slowly. "This is who we are," he said. "Not just what we build, not just what we destroy, but what we keep doing, even when it's hard." Céline turned her head slightly but didn't look at him. Her gaze was distant. She was trying to process everything she had seen. In her world, these moments were erased, too small to matter. And yet, here they were, recorded, remembered, shared. "There is chaos," she said at last. "There is recklessness. You waste resources, you fight." "Yes," Ma Lin said, "but we also heal. We also reach out. We don't always win, but we try." Céline finally met his eyes. "Why show me this?" "Because your kind looks for threats, for patterns of danger, for reasons to erase. I wanted you to see what doesn't show up on scanners." She studied him again. The quiet strength in his voice, the calm way he spoke, not pleading, not performing, just offering. Her thoughts returned to the old man playing music, the firefighter carrying a dog, the child running through grass. "There's something in your people," she said slowly. "Not order, not control, something else." "We call it connection," Ma Lin said. "We don't always get it right, but it keeps us going." Connection. A word her language didn't fully translate, but she understood the idea. A thread that tied them together, not rules, not fear. Something more fragile, but somehow stronger. The memory glass powered down with a soft tone. The room darkened again, returning to its simple state. No grand technology, no powerful machines. Just two people in the quiet, facing the weight of a choice. "You risk much by trusting me," Céline said. "I do," Ma Lin replied. "But sometimes the biggest risk is not being seen." For a moment, neither of them moved. The silence was no longer tense. It had changed. It had become something new. And for the first time since arriving, Céline didn't feel like a judge. She felt like a listener. Maybe that, she thought, was how change truly began. The room felt different now. It hadn't changed in shape or size, but the air between them had. Something unseen had settled, something quiet but powerful. Ambassador Céline no longer stood as a distant observer. She felt closer now, not to the human in front of her, but to the question he had forced her to ask. What if humanity was not a threat but a possibility? Captain Malin Rowe led her down a narrow hallway. The walls here were even more basic, lined with pipes and cables that hummed softly. They reached a wide chamber where a small group of humans waited. Not soldiers, not politicians. Just people. A woman with ink-stained fingers, a young man holding a digital sketchpad, an older person with a walking aid, and a child with big, wondering eyes. These were Earth's voices, Malin had said. Not the loudest, but the ones who still believed something better could exist. They greeted Selin politely. Some nodded. Some simply looked at her with quiet curiosity. No fear, no anger, just interest. She had spent most of her life judging planets based on systems, on numbers, on predictions. But here, in this strange little meeting, she felt something else pressing at the edge of her thoughts. Could a planet be more than its technology? Could it be measured by the courage of its people, by the way they chose hope even when history gave them none? She listened. They told her stories. Not perfect ones. Stories of trying and failing, of losing and rebuilding. The teacher spoke of students who taught her more than she taught them. The boy showed her sketches of machines he dreamed of building one day. The woman read a line from a poem about stars not yet seen. These people were not pretending. They were simply sharing. Later, when she returned to her quiet room aboard the ship, Selin stood before her terminal. The report had to be written. Her fingers hovered above the input screen. One word could decide everything. Threat. And Earth would go silent, like the others. Error. And it would vanish. Unseen. Unnamed. That was the way it had always been. The rules were clear. Growth without control brought chaos. Chaos brought danger. Danger must be erased before it spread. But her mind kept returning to the memory glass, to the dog saved from fire, to the man who played music with broken hands, to the child who had nothing but gave something anyway. Those moments weren't strategies. They weren't designed to convince. They just were. And they had stayed with her. She stared at the screen and slowly typed, "Not a threat, not a mistake, a spark." No alarm sounded, no red lights flashed. But she knew the message had gone to the Halo Council. She had broken tradition, chosen feeling over protocol. And now she waited. Malin found her hours later in the same observation room where they had first spoken. Earth rotated slowly below, clouds drifting like soft waves. He didn't speak at first, just stood beside her, hands in his coat pockets. "I sent the report," she said quietly. "I guessed. I don't know what they'll do." "No one ever does," he replied. "But maybe not knowing is where hope lives." She looked at him, not with the eyes of a judge, but as someone still learning. "Why did you really volunteer for this?" she asked. He thought for a moment. "Because we've made a lot of mistakes, some of them unforgivable. But someone has to stand up and say, we're more than that. If no one does, then maybe we become the worst version of ourselves." She studied him again. His voice was steady, but his words carried weight. He wasn't just trying to save Earth. He was trying to be honest about it. He reached into his coat and pulled out a small book. It was worn around the edges, pages bent, corners soft. He held it out to her. "It's a collection of stories," he said. "Real ones, not perfect, just human." Selin took it gently. "Why give this to me?" "Because someday someone will ask you what Earth was like, and I hope you'll remember more than just our mistakes." She didn't speak, but she held the book tightly. The weight of it felt heavier than it should, like it carried more than paper. As he turned to leave, she looked down once more at the planet below. Her planet now, too, in some small way. She had arrived expecting to erase, to finish a task, but something had changed. She walked to the control panel and gently disabled the beacon meant to call in the next phase. There would be no silencing. Not today. Back in her ship's log, she added one final line to the report. Some fire destroys, but some fire warms. And some teaches us to begin again. The stars outside shimmered quietly, and for the first time in many years, Ambassador Selin allowed herself to wonder what else the universe had yet to show her. And somewhere, in the quiet between stars, the ember stayed.